Hello, I'm Kate McKay, and welcome back to Survive to Thrive. Today, I am looking forward to interviewing somebody I know and love very much. I'm interviewing Yvel Joseph, and Yvel is a professional coach and co-owner of PFITcoaches, which stands for Performance, Fitness, and Training. He focuses on fitness, athletic performance training, speed, marathon endurance training. He also uses his expertise as a life coach to promote health and wellness. And I'm looking forward to interviewing Yvel. So welcome to the show, Yvel.
Well, thank you for having me. Great to be here with you.
I'm thrilled to see you. So just a backstory. So how I know Yvel is kind of funny, but I had a girlfriend of mine that was also competed as a fitness competitor, and I broke my wrist when I was training to I wanted to be on American Ninja, because, you know, that's what 55-year-old women do. But anyway, I broke my wrist and I was like, well, I can't lift, so I'm going to learn how to sprint. And okay, let me just tell you, I have never sprinted in my life. I had never competed. So with Yvel and Trevor's help, they helped me, and I actually competed a couple times, and I do want to get into it again. But I honor you and respect you for putting up with me and my hot mess. So thank you.
That was all right. It was a pleasure.
So Yvel, tell me, how are you doing? What's happening? I mean, we're going through this viral economic crunch, and how are you holding up emotionally?
You know what? I think the key thing is we have to keep our wits about us. That's the key thing. There's a lot going on the news as far as, you know, the doom and gloom. But reality is, if we're not keeping ourselves balanced, and again, that's the mental, physical, spiritual balance, social balance, we're going to fall apart. So as far as how I'm doing, I'm taking one day at a time. Again, I'm trying to live as healthy as possible, keep myself as proactive as possible, and keep on reaching out. You know, we're reaching out to our clients, our athletes, especially our friends and family. So that's what's keeping us balanced right now, making sure that everyone is well.
So, you know, clearly you were in a hands-on business. You know, I was a trainer as well for a whole lot of years. And don't you miss your clients? Like being with people and jamming with them? It's terrible, isn't it?
Absolutely. You know, we thrive on energy, and we thrive on energy as we interact with others.
Yes.
When you don't have others right there personally in front of you, what can you do?
I know. Yeah, and that's why we're doing this. And what I love so much about the Zoom platform is, first of all, I haven't seen you in a while. And so we get to have this really heart-to-heart conversation, you know, even though we're on computer. So how is it at home? Like, how are you managing now that your kids are home and your beautiful wife? How has that shifted and changed? And I also want to just ask you, as a man, what's this time like for you?
Well, we've had to adapt to a new normal. What the new normal is, of course, social distancing. So we are all home. We're fortunate to have the technology where my wife is able to work from home. Myself, as well as my teenage boys, are doing a lot of, again, you know, online virtual schooling. So with that aspect of it, you know, we're all well. As far as on sunny days, we do get out for walks, and especially right now, we're having to, you know, cover up our faces and what have you, but we're trying to adapt with it as best as possible, truthfully.
Yeah, right.
From a male perspective,
Go ahead. No, you.
But you're saying from a male perspective, you hit a key point, because I do believe that men and women are adapting to some of this differently. I mean, although we're all adapting as well as possible, but again, I think a lot of it is really from the mental aspect of things. You know, it's very known that men do not share emotions as well, you know, right off the bat. And sometimes it's really, how are they dealing with the social isolationism of things? I have had friends, you know, close friends, who are, even up until a week or two, I had to check because they're still, you know, getting a little cabin feverish, and still heading out to connect with a friend here or so. And, you know, so we have to have that kind of conversation. You know, we have to find ways like this to talk and make sure we're following these healthy boundaries.
So how do you frame that out then? Like, what would be a check-in? And I would love just for the viewers to know, what are the ways that is it helps people that maybe are alone bridge that gap of intimate conversation, because, you know, like you said, men and women do communicate differently in general. I hate to make broad strokes, but when women have maybe something that they're challenged with, they're going to call 5 girlfriends to get a consensus, where men aren't necessarily going to do that. And so what would you recommend? What are some questions or ways or strategies on approaching these conversations?
Well, for one, I mean, I know with some of my male friends, we have now set up some group chats. And the group chats can be anywhere from literally texting type of chats. We're checking up on each other. Sometimes just the camaraderie, you know, that we need. We've also set up some virtual chats. There's a lot of different platforms out there. You know, one is called Marco Polo that I've recently been on, and I'm able to chat live via a text type format. But it's important that we do connect in these ways, because we find that as men, it's not so much so that we need the deep conversation alone. You know, sometimes we have some deep conversations. Sometimes we have conversation about how we're doing professionally. But sometimes we just need the camaraderie. You know, we just need to blow off steam, crack some jokes and what have you. So men need those different layers of interaction. And when we don't have it, you know, it becomes really bottled up.
That's so true. And so just being able to really, and I would just recommend that, because I know I talked to Jeff Turk, a CrossFit coach, and he's involved with this Movember project, which is really focused on men's health and wellness, particularly their mental health. And it's their conversations aren't always going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you called. Sometimes it's just like, yo, I'm good. Right. And that's enough. But it's just, but understanding that maybe it's not going to show up or sound like what we would expect. Right. And I think just touching base and touching in is really important, and asking those questions like, what's going on? What are you doing to keep yourself active? You know, what are ways, you know, whatever questioning that you have or whatever strategy you have to make the connection super important.
No, that's absolutely correct. I mean, you know, we do like to connect. Again, women like to connect. You know, there's different layers of how we all connect. But the reality is, we find that as men, we are having to communicate in different ways. You know, so sometimes we are communicating on a more intimate level, as far as, you know, hey, how you doing? You know, how's your mental capacity? You know, are you feeling stressed? You know, and again, you know, a lot of times through joking, through jokes, or just through talking about sports, what we may want to do down the line when this is all over, right?
Yes.
We have to keep ourselves uplifted. And, you know, and bottom line, if you try to adapt to the new normalcy, you know, we don't want to have this become a permanent normal. But the new normalcy is we're doing a lot more things via some kind of visual medium like this, okay? Some kind of chat, you know, texting, and definitely, certainly through social media. Recently, some of the things we've been connecting on is, I know with a lot of my high school friends, you know, and some of them are out of state throughout, you know, the country. We've been challenging each other on fitness challenges, you know, push-up challenges, burpee challenges, or, you know, how long can you sustain a high knee run? You know, these are the kind of
10 seconds. I would lose. So I want to ask you a question, because you are an extraordinary athlete, and I want you to gloat a little bit about your achievements. But what I want to do, aside from you talking about that, I want you to talk to me a little bit and talk to the audience about the importance of grit, and how your push through your sport has allowed you to develop that skill, and what other people maybe can do to help develop that.
Right. You know what? If you haven't had an activity, if you do have an activity, the key thing to look at is, some of us, we have a winner mentality. It doesn't have to be that extreme, okay? If you are that extreme, then that's great. Sometimes it's just, you know, what can I do? Key thing is, the thing that you can do is the thing you want to pursue and try to do as well as possible. As you mentioned, you know, a lot of top athletes, you know, like myself, yourself, we don't always like to gloat about the things we've done, but I've been an athlete from the time I was in high school. And as you mentioned, compete on the national level and the high school level as far as track and field. I was, you know, state champion out of New York City. I was ranked, you know, within the top 4 athletes coming out of high school in my event, 800 meters in high school. Competed at high level and collegiate level, Division I, as well as, you know, just a few years ago, winning the USA national championship in track and field in 800 meters. So, A little bit of bloated.
He's badass and he's super humble. So why when I hear this, I'm horrified that he had to coach me. Oh my God. So you were badass. Oh my God. And he's so humble and so kind. I just love this man. So, all right. So tell me, were you born with grit?
You know what? I don't know if we're necessarily all born with it. I think our environment helps define the kind of personalities we eventually develop. I know the grit I get, of course, is from my parents, especially my mom. It's the can do. It's the you're going to persevere till you get it right. My father, really pushing and pressing that we get the best as possible as far as academic achievements. So that develops grit. I also grew up in New York City. So New York City is a wonderful place, right? A lot of people think it's very tough. Well, the tough aspect of being from an inner city or from a city is that you do develop grit based on the environment. Just walking to school, you have to look over your shoulders, especially, in the generation that came across. And grit really becomes, being street smart, as well as how can you use your book smart or you're smart around your environment to survive. So whether you grew up in a suburban type of environment, survival skills are the same. It may be a little bit more lax as far as what you have, or if you grew up in an inner city, your survival skills have to be a lot sharper. So with that, that's how we develop grit. It is around our surroundings and what we expose ourselves to.
That's so good. And so talk to me then about how maybe this time is a wonderful actual opportunity to hone those skills.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? Any time is the best time when you have time. Think about that.
I love that.
So,
say it again.
Anytime is the best time when you have time.
Love it.
Or when you make time. So how do you hone in on a lot of the grit? We've been having a lot of these discussions on a lot of my podcasts or, Zoom conferencing. And what can we do that's different now? Some people, how can you take up a new hobby? The hobby may not have to be necessarily external with others. I was speaking with one of my clients yesterday, and she's an avid reader. I want to connect with her, to talk about book lists. Again, these are just different aspects of hobbies. I was speaking with another client, and she said, this is an opportune time to try to learn a new language. And we're talking about apps that she's going to. We're doing a lot of discussions right now on just mental wellness and social being right now, because we're all locked in. So I think right now is a perfect time not to sit back and totally just watch videos in the form of movies and just be lax. It is a time for us to keep our mental capacity really proactive. And that's right now how we how we develop grit. We have to stay proactive. We have to stay engaged in something. You can't watch news all day long. It can be very stressing. It can build up a lot of anxiety. So you have to find some kind of hobby, some kind of interaction right now that's going to develop this kind of closeness, this kind of discussion. You have to bring something to the table to share with someone else. So why not start developing what those ingredients are like? For some of us, again, I mentioned reading a book. I'm trying to make it a point to, spend a few hours, even an hour a day, just trying to read, aside from news. And of course, I'm trying to keep myself as fit as possible. So I do maintain myself in a certain fitness regimen. I mean, again,
he says a certain fitness regimen. He's so humble. He is so badass. I just love it. You hear how he says that? Just a sort of a fitness regimen. Yeah. So, okay. So look alive. Okay. That's an expression you use a lot. So say it and tell me what that means to you.
That is my mantra. You have to look alive, and you have to look alive always. What does that mean? So looking alive is not just the facial perspective of looking alive. It's the essence of your being. What does it mean to wake up in the morning? What happens when you wake up in the morning? A lot of us may stretch. When your eyes open up, you have a choice. You have a choice to get out of that bed and start moving and doing something proactive. Okay? Looking alive for me is how I engage in my energy, how I share that, how I build up my enthusiasm, how I share my enthusiasm with others. Looking alive is the things around me that help motivate me. I have to build up. It's like you walk into a buffet. you can't eat everything in the buffet, or it's going to be stuffed and you're going to be down and out. So you select the things that you need out of that buffet that's going to build you up. And the things you get out of that, you have to now be able to take that same energy out of that buffet and now express it. So when I say look alive, I'm bringing energy to you. I'm bringing enthusiasm. I'm bringing motivation, and I want to see people be able to reciprocate.
Right.
And no one ever shows negative energy over overwhelming positive energy.
Mm-hmm. Light over darkness, always. It always wins. Right. It always wins. So just any last minute, obviously want to be respectful of your time, but is there any last minute things you want to share with our viewers? And actually, I did want to bring it up because I took my kids to Haiti, and Yvel's family of origin is from Haiti. He's been here for a long time, and as he said, from New York. But I just love your country, and it was game changer for my kids, and particularly my son Will, who I know you were there for his service and such. But I appreciated how you showed up, and I felt like my time at Haiti was with me, and the loving heart that you bring and that you carry. So I just honor and respect you and your country of origin, which is absolutely one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in my life. So thank you for that.
More than welcome.
Yeah.
I think, as you mentioned that, one of the key things, that I get from my Haitian culture is really being resilient. Haiti is known as a country that fought through insurmountable odds, through a revolution, and then gain their independence. And what I get from that, as far as an ancestral connection, is that you have to find ways to be resilient. Although it's considered a very poor country, as far as the resources and what have you, but the reality is that people are very, character rich. People really espouse around a lot around perseverance, education, achieving, and those are some great qualities. But the key thing too, I think, as a Haitian culture is, people really value connection. So I make sure that's still part of me. And again, I consider you a superstar. Everyone I engage with, I consider on the positive aspect, you're a superstar. So for me not to have supported you the way that I did, would not have been, that true friend. So another quote is, friendship is essential to the soul. So the true friends that I have, I make sure that I am there for them as best as possible.
Making me cry.
Oh,
here, wait a minute. I got a Kleenex. Oh my God. So everyone can now see why I love this man so much. Oh my good God.
Listen, we all share energy. You are an awesome person, and I love your energy too. And this is why we're here.
Yes. All right. So share some nuggets, because we're obviously going to have to get on the phone again and share some more stuff, because you're such a wealth. What would you like people to know, and what are some steps that they can apply today, in maybe when they're feeling less secure, when they're feeling more afraid, when they're feeling that they don't have options and opportunities?
Well, a few things I've been really sharing lately is really trying to follow the 7 healthiest habits that you can create to better yourself. Okay. Some of those habits are exercising. Okay. In this climate right now where we feel like we have more time, try to get more sleep. We have to really be balanced around how we're eating, our nutrition. Okay. Don't put in all the junk in there right now, especially don't binge eat. Okay. We have to really focus on how we're hydrating, continue drinking water. There's not the time, although that here in Massachusetts, the liquor stores are considered essential. You could have the social, which is fine, but hydrate on water to keep yourself balanced. But some of the key things too is we have to really practice being grateful, gracious, and thankful. Because just when we think we have it bad, or the news just shows everything is dire, you got to be glad that you woke up this morning. You got to be glad that your eyes woke up. Okay. Now what? What are you going to do with it? Okay. I've been taking more opportunities to meditate. For some, that meditation can also be prayer. Whatever your specialty, whatever your preference, you have to use that time wisely, because if you're not thankful for what you have, then what does it mean to have these things that you have? Okay. And really the bottom line is, I think we have to continue having positive, healthy habits throughout this time, because with a lot of time on our hands and not good healthy habits to follow, we're going to fall off track and we're going to derail. I think the key thing right now is have some self introspective time. think about, where am I right now? Aside from everything going on, where do I want to see myself tomorrow or hopefully a month from now? But we have to find what I like to say is purpose. All this, or as far as habits, it has to be that you have a purpose. Your purpose cannot be that now that I've waken up, what do I do? Okay, jot some things down. Seek something. Every day is a present. It's up to you how you use it. And every day is an opportunity to look alive. So you got to generate that energy and make it happen.
I love it. Oh my gosh, I love you so much.
Much love to you
All
too.
right,
You
well,
already know that.
I'm super appreciative. So viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. Yvel, thank you so much for your time.
You're more than welcome.
I really
It's been a
appreciate
pleasure.
it. If anyone has any questions and can reach out to Yvel and learn more about him, those will be in the show notes. And so until next time, thank you so much, and say it, Yvel.
Look alive.
Look alive.
Look alive always. Have a
Bye-bye,
great day,
everyone.
everyone.